Ever since I became a YouTuber, I was blown away by this small animation when you upload your videos to YouTube that goes something like this. If you like it too, let's build it together. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now let's build this super cool animation. So let's have a look at my code. Have in mind this background is just a screenshot of my YouTube channel. So that's just the background image, and I also have, let me show you, I have this pattern that we will use later in our animation, and we have this image. Okay, now let's have a look at my HTML file. I have one div with the class of circle, and this is this whole circle, and everything else is inside. Then I have a div with the class of arrow, which contains of arrow head and arrow body. This is the arrow head, of course, and this is the arrow body. And if in case you don't know how we made this head, you make this with your CSS. Let me find it. Yeah, with the borders. You put left and right border to be transparent, and the border bottom to be solid. That's how you make this triangle. We have a div with a class of dash, and this is this here. Then we have a div with a class of stripe, and for now this stripe is not visible. We will, let me show you. This is the stripe. If I comment out opacity 0, here is our stripe, white stripe, that we will use later in the animation. Let me put this back. And finally we have inner circle, div with the class of inner circle, which is also has opacity of 0. This is how we will end our animation. Let me show you this div quickly. Okay, my arrow has a z-index of higher z-index, but in the background everything else is covered with this div that takes up full circle. Okay, again we will use this div to end our animation. Okay, let's get back to our animation. Now this turned out to be much more complex than I originally thought. This is the first stage. And then I couldn't even take the fourth phase to take the screenshot because the arrow shoots up upwards quickly. And then in the fifth stage, this circle, which I called inner circle, is starting to going from the center and spreading up to the whole circle. So as you can see, we have a few animations, few elements to animate. Therefore, I will use JavaScript to trigger all of the animations when this button is clicked. And down here I put everything in the script tag. So this is where I will write my JavaScript because I only have a few lines. I'm not gonna make a separate file. So I have my button, and on that button I will add event listener. We will be listening for a click, and when we have a click, I just want to call a function that will trigger all of the animations. I will call this function start animations, just like that. Okay, now we just need to create these functions. So I will say function start animations, and let's now work on our animations. Let's first take care of the arrow. So first this function will put animation on the arrow itself. I'll say arrow, which I grabbed with my query selector here. And on that arrow, I want to change the style, and I want to put animation. And let's call this animation simply arrow, and I will put 4.5 seconds. I want us to have a good feeling what is happening. The original animation is lasting not longer than 2 seconds. So later, if you want, you can change that to for the demo purpose. I will use 4.5 seconds, and I don't want this to happen linear. I want some ease effect. So I will put ease in and out effect, and I want this to go forwards, meaning to finish with the last segment of my animation. All right, let's save this, and now we only need to make this in our CSS. So in our CSS, I will define a keyframes. We'll call it arrow. And now we need to define our frames. When the animation starts, I don't want any changes until the 15% of the animation. Then, as you could see by our screenshot, I want to translate this arrow on the y-axis, and I will translate it by 10%, so meaning 10% down. I will put the arrow 10% down, and I also want to scale it down, but only on the y-axis again, and I'll say 0.6. Okay. Then I want this arrow to stays down and until 30% of my animation. To make sure, I will just I will just copy this here. Okay. And then from the 30%, I want the arrow to go up quickly. So I will just put very close to the 30, let's say 32.5%. I want my arrow to go back to the original position. So it will be 0, and I want to scale, I'm sorry, not 0, that will remove it, but to put scale back to 1. Okay, and this is how our arrow will stay all the way until the 80% of our animation. What do I want at 80%? I want to ensure that it stays there. So 0 and 1. And at 85% of my animation, I will copy this down again. I want my arrow to go even further below, so even more down, let's say to 20%, and again to change the scale. So again, I want to get smaller, but only on the y-axis, and I will make sure until 95% of my animation to stay this way. So again, I'm pushing it down and making it smaller. And now I want to finish my animation, so this will happen very quickly, only from 95 to 100, so only the last 5% of my animation. I want the arrow to shoot upwards very quickly, so I will put a very high negative value here on my translate y. Let's say minus 100 VH, and for the scale it doesn't even matter because this will happen very quickly, but let's put it back to 1. Okay, now have in mind that I'm not coming up with these numbers from my head. Of course, I had a general idea what needs to happen to my arrow, but still I needed to tweak these numbers. I just want to save you some time because I experimented a lot. Okay, let's save this and test our animation. Okay, time for the launching of our animation. Okay, now have a look at our arrow once I press this button. Okay, so it goes down, then it goes up, then even more down, and then it shoots upwards. Okay, now let's take on this dash here. What do I want to happen with the dash? I simply want to disappear after a short time. So I'll define a new keyframes. Let's call it dash simply. And this is the simplest of all animations. I want this dash is already shown on the screen. I want until 95% to still have opacity 1 and only at 100% to has opacity of 0. So this, in this way, I will remove it from the screen very quickly. Of course, there are lots of ways you can do that, not only in this way, but in our function, I want also to add this animation too, and it will be on the dash, and I want our dash animation, but this animation will happen very quickly, let's say for 1 second, and I want to change my timing function. Instead of ease in and out, I want to be linear, and I also want to keep the forwards. Okay. Okay, let's now save this and test out our animation. So as soon as our arrow goes down and stays down, and goes upwards again, we should lose our dash. Okay, let's try it out. Okay, and now it's gone. Alrighty. Now, what should we work on next? Let's work next on our this white stripe below the arrow. So I will once more copy this down, and I will select stripe, and we will call this animation also stripe for the simplicity's sake. And to follow the arrow, I will use the same value as I did for our arrow animation. So I will say 4.5 seconds. And this will be linears and stay forwards. Okay, now we just need to create our stripe animation. So again, the same way we will define keyframes, we will call it stripe, and let's see what do we need to do. Now our stripe has opacity of 0. If we have a look here is a stripe. Now I want this to stay until a certain point and then to show up. So let's have a look at our arrow animation. As you can see, at 32.5% it goes up again. We translate y back to 0, and I want exactly this at this percent to have my stripe showing. Okay, so I will copy this down. Since we are using the same length for the animations, 4.5 seconds, I can use the same percentages. So what I want, I simply want opacity to be 1, but I don't want to be shown until this percent. So I will make sure to until 30% to stays 0. Otherwise it will slowly be showing up until 35%. Okay, now let's consider what will happen. Let's see what happens now so we can analyze. Okay, so let's start on our animation. As you can see, when the arrow goes down again, this white stripe has a height that's longer than it should be. So I need to make sure to also decrease the height of the white stripe. So let's take care of that. Alrighty, back in our code, let's have a look. This is where my arrow goes down at 85%. So this is where I should decrease the height of my stripe, but I want to make sure that until 80% of that height stays the same. So let me have a look at my CSS. Our stripe has a height of 55% by default. So I will make sure to stay the same until this keyframe. And on that keyframe, I want to, let's have a look. Our arrow is going up 20%. So simply I will decrease this by 20%. Now let's see what happens with our arrow for the last part of the animation. As you can see, until 95% it stays here, so down, and then on 100% it shoots upwards. So I will make sure that also the stripe follows the arrow. So I will put exactly the same values. So at 95%, I want my height to stay 35%, and at 100% of my animation, what do I want to happen? I want to, let's just copy this line. I want my stripe to translates on the y-axis minus 100 VH, but to ensure I have to ensure here that it stays at 0. So this will only happen for the last 5 seconds of my animation. If I don't put this here, this translation will go through the whole 4.5 seconds. I also need to ensure that opacity stays 1, because initially it was 0, and I want to stay 1 because I have forwards on my animation. Let's save all of this and test out our animation now. Okay, let me refresh this page. Alrighty, let's have a look. Now I should have my arrow, my dash, and my stripe taken care of. Let's test it. Alrighty, that is working. That's awesome. Okay, now what else we need to do? We need to make sure to have a background on this circle, and this is this pattern. I call these worms. Okay, so I need to have these worms going down very quickly. Alrighty, I will define a new keyframes. And how should I call it? Let's call it a circle, simply. Now this will be a much simpler animation. I only need to have 2 keyframes from 1 and I'm sorry, 0 and 100%. Okay, let's have a look at our circle. For now, here it only has a background color. Now I want to change that, and instead of background color, I will put a background image, and as a URL, I want to put pattern 1 JPEG. Alrighty, and now this will repeat, of course, and fill up the whole circle. But I want to change the background position on this background image. For the X, I'm not concerned with the X axis, so I will put 0, but I want to start upwards and go down. So for initially, I will put minus 100 VH, and at 100% of my animation, I still want to have background image pattern, but I want to go to 100 VH, so it will go down. Okay, and that's actually it for this animation. So I will copy this down again. I want animation to be on my circle and also should have a name of circle. And now for the duration, I will put 2 seconds. It will be linear and it will go forwards. But I want this animation. Okay, let's save now and test it like here to see what's the problem with this. As you can see, my animation is only lasting 2 seconds. I want this animation to go infinitely. So I want to repeat infinite. What else do I want? I also want to have a delay, because if we have a look at our screenshot, this doesn't begin immediately. It begins when my arrow goes up and when we see this stripe showing up. So I want to put some delay on my animation, and for the delay I will put 1.25 seconds. So the first value, when you use animation shorthand property, the first value would be the length of the animation and the second value will be the delay. Alrighty, let's save all of this now and test it out. As you can see now, my animation is starting with the delay. Okay, one last part is to animate this inner circle, and once again I will copy this down, and on our inner circle I will define animation. Let's call it again inner circle, and let's see what we need to do. Okay, I will get back to our script later. Let's define the keyframes. So we'll say keyframes and call it inner circle. This is the animation that's happening at the end, at the very end, and I have this inner circle. Let me show you. This is that div, and it has opacity of 0. I want to be visible, so I need to put it opacity of 1, and I want to go from the very middle of our circle and to spread to the whole circle. It already has the width and the height of the whole circle, which is its parent. So I will just a very simple again animation. At 0% I want to have opacity 0, and I want to be scaled at 0, and for that I can in fact use a new way to put. I could also do here without the transform, because now you can use scale, rotate, translate at its own properties. I could have used translate instead of transform translate. I could have used it as a separate property, but have in mind I cannot use translate y. This doesn't exist until now, but here I would also needed to put both axes, for both axes the values, something like this. Okay, never mind. For the scale I will use this short new way of putting the transform properties. So I will put scale 0. Now have in mind that this doesn't work on every browser out there yet. Okay, and here, whoops, I want to put at 100%. I want to put opacity to 1 and scale to 1, which will make sure to have the full circle. Alrighty, let's save this and let's now declare this animation. Okay, I want to have this should begin almost at the end of these 4.5 seconds. I will put 4.25 seconds. In fact, that would be the delay of my animation. I will wait until 25 seconds to make sure this animation triggers. So this is the delay, but the animation itself should be very quick. Let's say 0.5 seconds. And also I want linear forwards, and I don't want to repeat infinitely. I want to happen only one time. Alrighty, that should be it for our whole animation. Let's save this and test out if we were successful. Let's try it out. Hit start button. As you can see, our animation is now completed. Let's reload again. So I have my arrow going down, losing the dash, showing the stripe and the worms, and finally when the arrow goes up, I have this inner circle showing up. Of course, this is in the YouTube studio when you lose this window and you have another window when you can set up the details of your new video you're going to upload, but this is the topic for the some of my next video maybe. Okay, I hope you enjoy this little animation. If you have a better way to make this, or more efficient or quicker, let me know please. I really liked this animation a lot. Alrighty, as always I will put this in a GitHub repo, so if you want to use animation like this in some of your projects, you are welcome to do so. I want to thank you for watching this video again. If you liked it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to get more like this. And I want to thank you and wish you a great day. Goodbye and lots of love.